Hey guys, Alex back with you again from Midway Apparel. It's been a while since I posted a video. Um, it's been an interesting couple of weeks, months or so. So I just wanted to take some time and record a video. Not really explaining where I've been, but to discuss something that we've been dealing with for quite a while in our house. And I want to discuss it because it's something that's not very well talked about. Um, and it took us over a year to really get a diagnosis on it for my son. Um, so I want to spend some time talking a little bit about it in case this helps anyone out there who's maybe dealing with something similar. Um, so about maybe 2 years ago, um, my son was at a birthday party for a friend. It was at a trampoline park, and during the birthday party, he fell on one of the trampolines, and a larger kid fell and landed on top of him and broke his femur, my son's femur. Um, so my son was about 6 at the time, and he was ended up in pretty much a full leg cast up to for a couple of maybe just shy of 2 months. So full wheelchair and everything. Um, didn't really have crutches for kids that size, so he was in a wheelchair. Anyways, that's not the point of it. Um, Around the time that happened, he started to get what was to us sort of a mystery sickness. Um, so he would begin to get fevers that didn't seem to be linked to anything. The first one started shortly after he broke his leg. Uh, and, we brought him to the doctor, and there was certainly concern that there was possibly some sort of blood infection or bone infection from the break. And so we did a lot of testing, and everything came back negative. He didn't seem to have, that didn't seem to be the problem. But it lasted for about a week. He had a fever around 103 or so for several days, led to him throwing up. Just absolutely miserable on top of, the leg being broken. That resolved itself. And then the next month, it came back again. We brought him back to the doctor. And they just kind of settled on it was some sort of virus. Now this is so this would have been 2022, I guess. So the whole COVID fear was still around. RSV was a big thing that year as well. Strep, all those kinds of things. And so we'd bring him in, and they'd run the COVID test. It always came back negative. And the answer was, oh, it's just another virus. But again, it knocked him out for a full week. He was absolutely miserable, throwing up due to the fevers predominantly. After about a week, he recovered. And the same thing month after month after month. And every month, it was always, we'd take him to the doctor, and they would say, oh, it's some sort of virus, Tylenol, Motrin, try to keep the fever down. And his fevers would, go up to 103, 104, 105. And, we were getting really concerned about it, obviously. And the thing we noticed about it is it was almost on a time scale that we could predict. Every 4 weeks, pretty much on the dot, he would get a fever. And after a couple of months, we started to see some signs beforehand that it was, we suspected it was about to start up. Um, we would hear him up talking all night in his sleep, very vivid dreams. He'd be sleepwalking some, wouldn't remember the next morning that he got up and walked around the house, whatever. And so we talked to the doctor about the predictability of it, and started going down the road and finding something called periodic fever syndrome. Uh, the medical term is PFAPA. It stands for periodic fever and something else, whatever. But periodic fever syndrome is what it is. And to the best of my understanding, it's more like an autoimmune issue. Um, and so one of the things that seems to be to help resolve the fevers, at least, not prevent them, but resolve them, was giving him a dose of prednisone. And if giving him a dose of prednisone pretty much knocks out the fever within the day, that's a good indication that that's what we were working with. So we did that, and it worked. It would knock the fever out generally within 12 hours of him getting a dose. We did some blood work as well. They wanted to see some blood work when he was healthy, and then they wanted, when he had a fever, they wanted us to go get some blood work done again. And one of the takeaways from the blood work, it was when we took him to get that, it was one of the worst fevers that he had had. He was up to 105, even being on Tylenol and Motrin. We had taken him to the emergency room, vomiting, all of it. And when the blood test results came back, they pretty much showed very high inflammation markers. They said that if they did not know that they were looking at the blood of a child, they would have assumed that it was an adult in the middle of cardiac arrest, was how they described his blood test results. And so month after month for well over a year of this. So the prednisone worked. Within about 12 hours, the fever was completely gone. We caught it when we caught it early enough. It would, we could get him that prednisone right when his fever started going up and eliminate the day or two of vomiting. We didn't let the fever get high enough for that to be an effect. But his behavior was still off for a day or two beforehand, before the fever spiked. We could tell it was coming based on his behavior. The problem with the prednisone is it increases the frequency of the fevers. So we went from having fevers every month to every 2 weeks. Not as serious, but now he's getting prednisone every 2 weeks, which is not ideal. It's a steroid, and it's not good. So there's that. There's another medication that they had said we should try as well with the prednisone, now that we know that that's working and we can kind of narrow it down to periodic fever syndrome. I guess there's a sort of a grouping of those, or different types, I guess. And that medication could sort of help delay the frequency that we were seeing those fevers at, and it didn't work. So we started working with a rheumatologist. He's the one who prescribed that other medication. It wasn't working. We took him off of it. I'm not a huge fan of medicating, giving pills in hopes that maybe it'll start working. We tried him on it for about 2 months and it didn't work. So we finally moved on and scheduled for him to have his tonsils removed. Again, there's not much known about periodic fever syndrome. In about 80 to 90% of cases, removing tonsils seems to fix the issue. There's no guarantee. Um, but this past Monday, before Christmas, um, we went into the New York City, and had his tonsils removed. So that's where we're at now. He is recovering. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, this will take care of it. But dealing with these I think, incredibly high fevers for multiple years on end, with no good answers to it, has been one of the most frustrating things for a parent to deal with, having a child who has some unknown sickness that you know it's something different than what the doctors are telling you, and convincing them that there's something more serious. Again, it took over a year of fevers before we were taken seriously. And again, his doctor's pretty good. There are some things that we won't agree on. We pretty much refuse to discuss. I refuse to discuss diet with him. He is along the lines of the artificial milks and not necessarily a full vegan diet, but that kind of stuff is better for kids, and I vehemently disagree with that. So we don't talk about that. But a lot of the other things, we can agree on for the most part. We made the decision that my son should not get the COVID vaccine. He's 8 now. It was approved for children when he was 5 or 6, and I told the doctor he's not getting that. He's had COVID once. Didn't really knock him back. The periodic fevers were far worse on him than COVID was. So I'm glad we avoided that. So yeah, as things continue on, I'll be back with an update on that. But if anybody else is experiencing what we have spent the last several years going through, I just wanted to make this video to let you guys know what it could be, a route to take. It's kind of crazy how the medical industry as a whole just kind of takes the idea that, yeah, these things happen for kids. It's not super common, but it is what it is. I don't accept that. That's crazy. These kind of things, autoimmune diseases and such, they're not normal things that kids have dealt with in the past, and they're becoming increasingly more and more common. So, that's pretty much it. Just want to give you guys a little bit of a background of what we've been dealing with, and if you or anyone has a kid that's dealing with something similar to this, just to give you a route to go on. We got connected with a rheumatologist out of Columbia Hospital, and that's when we started really making progress on getting this narrowed down and figuring out what's going on. So, yeah, that's it for the video today. I'll be back making more videos on this channel again. But if this helps anyone, I'm happy to make it. So thank you all, and we'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.